Welcome back to Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, and it's another 5-minute review. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the recently released on streaming sci-fi title, The Creator. It is directed by Gareth Edwards. It's also written by Gareth Edwards and Chris Weitz, and stars John David Washington, Madeline Yuna Voiles, and Gemma Chan. Ken Watanabe also is in this, as well as Allison Janney. Allison Janney I really liked in here. She plays a badass kind of military colonel. And I just felt like she was pretty ruthless throughout. She's the main antagonist. But it's streaming now on Hulu. And if you don't know Gareth Edwards, he's directed a lot of good stuff, right? He was behind Rogue One, the original reboot of Godzilla in 2014, a movie called Monsters, which was really good. And so he's also he's a writer and by trade too. Did a lot of VFX stuff. He's a kind of a jack of all trades as far as filmmaking goes. But really good storyteller, and I don't know. This one had good intentions, right? John David Washington is he's a former soldier, and I don't really know if he's like kind of a mercenary. But AI has been outlawed because essentially back in the day they set off artificial intelligence set off nuclear warheads, and so governments around the world outlawed AI, and I think it's China is the only one that's still producing AI, and they're fully realistic robots, realistic looking, and I mean, there's even people in the movie that have relationships with them. But there, this company, and this is where it gets really bogged down, is that there's a lot of like who's responsible for what, and is this big entity that's responsible for AI? Are they the good guys? Are they the bad guys? But anyway, we come to find out that the military is on the hunt for a secret weapon, and Allison Janney is leading this crew, and they have reason to believe that this secret weapon is hiding out in this underground facility. They go and John David Washington stumbles upon the secret weapon, and it happens just to be a child robot. But this child robot has ability. I mean, I don't know. It's connected to Wi-Fi. I don't know. But it has the ability to control like all electronics. All of it. I mean, I don't know what the span was, or what the radius for this child's ability is, but several times the child, shuts off everything and turns things on and just does things that no other robot can do, right? And so, but it's exhibiting like this an actual human-like wonder, and befriends John David Washington's character. And John David Washington is told over the radio, "Hey, you got to kill it," and he doesn't. He essentially kidnaps it, and is gonna. He's trying to get to his wife, who he thought was dead, but has since been told she's alive, but in wherever she's at. And there's just a lot going on here, and this needed to be a 3-hour movie, or this needed to be a TV series, is because it's too much stuff jammed into a 2-hour movie, right? Performances are good. I like John David Washington. You close your eyes, he's his dad. You know, his cadence and just the way he talks is exactly like Denzel. But ultimately, I just think the runtime lets the film down is because I don't know if Gareth Edwards was told by a studio that, hey, we don't want this film to be longer than 2 hours and 30 minutes. So he's like, okay, shit, I'll cram everything in. It's because it's convoluted, and as it gets towards the end, you're just like, wait, how the fuck do we end up here? Because it starts to do some globe trotting, and emotionally, it's okay. You know, you feel a relationship between John David Washington and the kid. Ultimately, I'm gonna say I've seen better. It's got a lot of good ideas, good performances. It's just I think the story is a little bit shallow. Anyways, hit the subscribe button when it pops up so you don't miss any future content here on the podcast. We're doing big things everywhere. If you want to follow us on all your favorite social media platforms, we're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, right here on YouTube, doing big things. And don't forget that the podcast releases weekly every Thursday on your favorite podcast streaming platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, we're right there with you. And we'll catch you next time.
Did you locate the weapon?
Yeah, it's just a kid.
Are you going to heaven?
No. You gotta be a good person to go to heaven.
So we're the same. We can't go to heaven because you're not good. And I'm not a person.
Do you have any idea what the thing is?
She looks like a little girl now, but she's growing. Whoever has that kid wins the war.
Whose side do you want, huh?